Hello folks, welcome. I'm here at the world's busiest futures exchange. That is, of course, the CME Group. And here is the CMZ presented by Option Monster. As far as today's activity, we've got a lot going on in the pits immediately behind me. That's the corn options pit. Behind that, over towards the corner, we've got the wheat pit and wheat options. And there's been a lot going on as far as the options pits in particular, with rolling of straddles from March out into April and May. When you have those big trades going on here at the CME, you get massive size, usually implying that there's some sort of big institution. I was just talking to Eric, also known as the Wolfman, about what was going on over there, and he said there were a lot of four-ways and a lot of those straddles, again, where a straddle is the combination of the call and the put, and you've rolled that position out to either March or April. Well, you're buying back the short straddle, for instance, in the near month and pushing it out to those far outer months, and some people are doing the opposite, selling out those straddles in the near month and buying them out there in the far months. Anyway, that increases volume and volatility in these option contracts fairly dramatically, and that's why we've had such an active trade here today. Speaking of active trade, take a look at what's going on in Apple, AAPL. I'm sure you couldn't miss this one, folks, because even though I met a guy yesterday who hadn't heard of Adele, I can't believe no one's heard of Apple and the just astronomical move this one has made. It is now up, folks, close to $75 just in the last 6 trading sessions. An astonishing move. This morning, Apple exploded up to $5.19, pulled back just a little bit, maybe $1 or so, and then zoomed up into the mid $5.25 area. Just an explosion to the upside. Give you some idea, we traded 230,000 option contracts on the call side in the first 30 minutes of trade today. That's crazy volume. Taking a look overall, the first hour of trade today, we saw over 350,000 call options trade. That's the equivalent, folks, of 35 million shares of Apple. Think about that, because at that time Apple had only traded about 9 million shares. So you've got the share equivalent, which are options. Briefly, every option is for 100 shares of stock. So when I talk about 350,000 options trading just on the call side, that implies 35 million share equivalent in Apple versus just 9 million on the stock. So this is one of those situations where the tail is indeed wagging the dog. Why is that? Because stocks like Priceline, Berkshire Hathaway, CRM, Salesforce.com, and Google, they are so expensive because they're somewhere between, $130 a share all the way up to Google. Berkshire, of course, is significantly higher, but they don't trade options on the big Berkshire, only on the mini Berkshire. These stocks are so expensive, folks, that people have to gravitate to the options, and you can, as some people did, for instance, 530 calls today went from 68 cents to over $3.50 today. That's a return of like 500–600%, folks, in a day. In other words, they closed last night at 68 cents. They were way out of the money, of course. Well, as the stock rocked and rolled today, those options blew up. You had a 500% return. Is that crazy or what? You want to know how to do that? You got to come on out to the Invest Like a Monster conference. It's going to be out in Newport Beach, California, March 30th and 31st. It's got an all-star lineup. We've got Anthony Scaramucci. You've seen him, Skybridge Capital, billion-dollar firm, built it himself. Take a listen to Dan Fitzpatrick, stock market mentor. This is one of the best guys on charts you'll ever hear. Jeff Mackey from Yahoo Finance is going to be there. If you've enjoyed Jeff Mackey at Yahoo Finance and CNBC, wait till you see him in person, folks. You've also got Guy Adami, my brother Pete Najarian, I'm there, and of course our friends at Options Animal and Zachary Karabell. How can I forget about Zach? He writes articles every week for Time Magazine, Newsweek, Huffington Post, Daily Beast. I mean, folks, this is the all-star lineup of the year, and I'll take myself out of that and say these guys, I'm going to be listening to what they have to say about the market. You want to learn how you can trade, for instance, Apple. which is a $520 some odd stock, and trade it with just $60 on each option you trade, we'll show you how. We'll even show you how to cut the risk down from there to where you can take it down to maybe $20 instead of even $30 or $60 to trade that $500 monster. Weekly options, it's all about that. Speaking of weekly options, back on Apple, folks, these weekly expiring options today traded, let me see, the 520s traded 30,000 contracts today in the first hour and a half. 30,000 contracts, that's 3 million share equivalent. So that would be a third of the stock that traded during that same time just in one series. Then you look at the 525s, 18,000 contracts, and the 530s like 16,000 contracts. That means that's 1.6 million, 16,000 options, 1.6 million. Folks, this is an absolute incredible opportunity, and the volatility in Apple blew up because there's a combination of a lot of shorts, people picking tops in this stock. That's why it's so nice to be in the options, because every week I'm in and out of this stock, and I'm doing it with weekly options. You can do the same. If you come out to our Invest Like a Monster event, we'll show you how. It's very easy. You just have to make a little commitment. I can't guarantee you're going to make money every trade, but I can tell you can cut your risk on every trade if you know how to use options. I'll show you how to trade Apple out at that conference and Google with just less than 50th of what it would take to trade the stock. That's investlikeamonster.com, March 30th, 31st, out in Newport Beach, California. A great lineup, and it's only $199. In fact, if you fund a Trade Monster account, you will get a refund of that $199 if you fund a Trade Monster account with $5,000. That's our sister firm, TradeMonster.com. I'm Dr. J, here at the world's busiest futures exchange, the CME, for the CMZ.